Guys, what is happening? Hanging out at the famous Stub Cycles in Houston, Texas. And look at this machine that I get to bring to you today. Guys, that is the Suzuki GSX8R parallel twin. You know, a lot of you guys have mentioned just how much you like this motorcycle, and I gotta tell you, ever since I had a chance to sample one of these bikes at the Suzuki demo day, I have been wanting to spend more time with it. It was just so punchy, it's so flickable, it's just a neat bike. So without wasting any more time, I've already got a little bit of heat in this bike. Good looking TFT screen, very readable, very nice to look at. Little parallel twin fires right up. God, I tell you what, the stock exhaust sounds pretty snarly on this thing. So what do you say we get this bike out for a little bit, take it for a cruise, and I'll give you my impressions of this bike while we're going around. So let's get rocking. Straight away, I can tell you this bike is incredibly punchy, and that quick shifter that it comes with is so good. I gotta just take a minute and tell you guys how appreciative I am of Stub Cycles to allow me the opportunity to bring you this and many more to come reviews of bikes that are in inventory. So thanks, guys, I appreciate that. Oh, guys, look, this is such a fun motorcycle to ride. Just the simple torque of it, the way that this bike puts down power is so endearing in a way. It's not overpowering. It's not supposed to be, though. This is, to me, one of the most perfect commuter bikes that you could find. That TFT screen looks so good, too. Cruising down the highway at highway speeds, this thing has got plenty of punch. Just roll on the throttle, it gets around traffic nicely. Oh, and that quick shifter. You know, I know that in the past videos I've put out talking about the newer technology and you don't need this or you don't need, guys, the quick shifter on this motorcycle is really good. It's every bit as good as the quick shifter is on the GSX-R 1000. That TFT screen is incredibly sharp to look at, very clear. Yeah, I can see why you guys tend to say that some bikes might need to come along into the 2025. I get what you're saying. But this machine is so flickable, so nice, so easy to ride. And you got to put things in perspective with a bike like this. For many people, this is the next step up. Let's say you've got a CB500 or a motorcycle like that. Maybe you started off with something along the lines of, you know, an E2 bike. Well, this would be the next step up from that. And I gotta tell you, this bike has been, at least in the demo ride, has been one of the most surprising bikes for me, just because it is so responsive and strong in cruising scenarios, where this just shy of 800cc parallel twin, it seems to feel like it is a bigger engine than it is. Incredibly snappy. The power delivery is nice. It's very smooth. And for somebody that's coming from a smaller bike, this thing is going to feel like a little bit of a monster. I can tell you that as sport bikes go, though, I wouldn't necessarily call this a sport bike. This is really more of an upright, can you call it a fully fared naked? I almost wonder if that's the right way to put it. The seating position is very upright. We do have these clip-on style bars, but they are more upright. Maybe a little bit lower than a true handlebar would be, but still definitely more of a relaxed, less committed riding position. I know that there are companies that make clip-ons, true clip-ons for this bike. And the folks that run these in more track-oriented setups will rock those. Go ahead and get her up to speed. This thing will absolutely merge with traffic. This is quicker than it really feels like it should be. God, that quick shifter is so good. Plenty of power to get in and out of any type of a traffic situation. God, this is so good. So torquey down low. You know where I would see this bike doing exceptionally well, aside from an urban environment, which is where this bike really would excel. But if you're new to motorcycling, you wanted something a little bit more powerful, something that's going to give you grunt all the time, just at the twist of the throttle in 6th gear, this bike will absolutely collect real estate. Oh, what a fun bike. I gotta tell you, my crush is still very much alive with this machine. So getting back to that demo day, I had ridden one of the GSX8R 1000s. And this is the other bike that I wanted to ride. And the minute that I got a chance to spend maybe 30 seconds in the seat of this machine, I was already starting to fall in love. And I could imagine this bike doing exceptionally well. Northern California, Pacific Coast Highway, just ripping it through the mountains, say up in like over off of Blackhawk, just south of San Francisco, where top speed is really not going to do you a whole lot of good. Outright power is not what you're looking for. You're looking for something that is just punchy. You just roll into the throttle and it absolutely responds beautifully. No waiting on RPM whatsoever. No need to downshift this machine either. What a fun bike to ride, spend time on. But I bring up those areas because that's where I have my most experience. And again, to just kind of put it in perspective, a machine that you don't have to rev, a machine that just absolutely puts torque down the way that this bike does, is so much easier to ride. It's more relaxed. Even when you're doing things that that are more of a spirited nature, when you don't have to rip the bike, it'll put your mind in a certain place, and that's kind of where I am with this bike. Like, I feel like I could, without really putting a whole lot of stress or a whole lot of effort into riding this bike, I could actually cover better numbers, say on a track day, with a bike like this. Or at least if the numbers weren't better, I would come away less fatigued. I do have to admit that TFT screen looks good. But again, effortless power, the way that this bike will just scoot. God, this bike is so good. I tell you what, if you're looking for a commuter style bike, something that you could have as a fair weather ride into the city, into the office, I don't know that you could do better than this. God, the seating position is very comfortable. Again, it's not too upright. It's kind of a cross between a naked and a sport bike. A little bit more committed than a standard, if you will. All I can say is this, guys. If you ride one, you're going to end up falling in love with it. And again, the fun thing about this bike, it's got the technology, it's got your TFT, it's got the quick shifter. And it's a really good quick shifter too. It's got multiple riding modes. Right now we are in traction control 1, rider mode A, so it's basically the most aggressive setting. It's just so punchy too. It's a good looking bike. Oh, that quick shifter is nice. As far as suspension goes, not overly stiff, fairly compliant. Effortless acceleration with this thing. God, such a nice bike. But again, getting back to the suspension, nice and compliant, not too upset by some of the bumps that I'm hitting right now. I don't know if you can tell if that's coming through on video, but the bike is not at all upset with anything that this road has to offer anyway. But yeah, my crush is still in full force for this bike. I really like this bike a lot. I'll put it to you like this: in terms of performance, this is very similar in feel to any of the larger displacement upright bikes that you might find. Something like a Speed Twin or my Bonneville. Very similar acceleration. You might say, well, those other bikes have more power. Yes, but this bike is significantly lighter and far more flickable too. So I don't know if you can put it in that same category, but very similar in terms of how this thing responds to throttle inputs. And again, I gotta tell you, if you ride one of these things, I think you're gonna really like it. It's got a, I don't know if this is going to come up on camera or not very well, but it does have a nice intake growl to it that absolutely does add to the riding character of this bike. God, what a fun machine. I'll be honest with you guys, I am trying to figure out if there's a way that I can come up with a way to add this to the stable. If I could get away with it, I could. If there was room for just one more. Is there room for just one more? I don't know. I think for a bike like this, you'd almost have to make room. And I'm not kidding. When I say this would make the perfect commuter, it is so easy to ride. Power delivery is so smooth. The torque is so linear. I just don't know that you could do better. It's, in some respects, for me anyway, the power output, the power delivery, this is the perfect motorcycle for somebody that values value over overall performance. Because in this machine, I feel like you get about 85% or 90% of the performance that you really could ever responsibly use on the street. You get so much of the good that comes from motorcycling, and so much of the good that comes from having a bike that produces power in a way where you can just have fun with it. It's very rewarding. You never get the sense that this bike is trying to send you into the stratosphere, although I'm pretty sure this thing would do wheelies like nobody's business with the power delivery and the torque and the way that this thing puts it down. But I gotta tell you, as a bike that you would just want to hang out with, maybe take up into the canyons or up into the mountains, your favorite B and C roads. This machine will absolutely accommodate that. No problem. Oh, that quick shifter is good. Just kind of fanning through the gears there. Oh, this is so much fun. I almost don't want to go back. I don't want to take it back. How do I sneak this thing home? Babe, I'm sorry, there's a new blue bike in the garage. It is that good. I'm pulling back over here to Stubbs. Big shout out to Hunter and to Rob for giving me the opportunity to enjoy this machine today. I wonder if I can just kind of sneak this thing home. Do you think I could get away with that? Stubbs Harley Davidson, we've got an MSF class. That is so cool to see these guys getting into it. Stubbs Cycles. This place has been around since before I was born. I loved coming here as a kid, and it is so cool to come here again and have the opportunity to do this for you guys. So go ahead and get her shut down. Hey, look, it's us. But there she is, guys. Suzuki GSX8R. Absolutely love this bike. If you ever get a chance to get an opportunity to throw a leg over one of these things, you've got to. If you could only just have one bike, I would have to say this would be the one to get. Lots of power, lots of tip-in throttle response. It's an addictive bike to ride because you, even at highway, just playing around speeds, it's super punchy in whatever gear you happen to be in. I can see why so many people have fallen in love with this machine, myself included. I can't say enough good things. Guys, go experience it for yourself. Get over here to Stubbs Cycles and take this thing for a ride. Let me know what you think. And with that, we will catch y'all on the next one. Take care.